Hello, everyone, and welcome. Dawn here. I'm so glad you could join me. I have another Christmas card for you. This time, I'm going to be embossing with my die to make a textured background, just so that I don't have a plain white background. And I'm using the vintage poinsettia for my focal point on the card. This is such a great stamp set. It has everything you need from images and sentiments to make a beautiful card. So let's get started. I went ahead and stamped all of my images with a Copic friendly black ink. I did stamp the images multiple times to make sure I got a really good impression. And then I die cut them with my brother's Scan and Cut, but you could actually cut them out if you wanted to by hand. They're pretty easy images to cut. Here I'm just kind of laying them out to see how I want them to look on my card front, and then I'm going to set them aside for later. I'm going to die cut 3 of these 3-in-1 frames from white cardstock so that I can stack them on top of each other to add dimension to the card. It does cut out all 3 frames at the same time. I'm using the largest frame only for this card. I'll just save the smaller ones for another project. I'm going to use the Lattice A2 die to emboss with, and the first thing I'm going to do is take a piece of white cardstock and I'm going to spray the front and back with some water. I keep my water in the Ranger Mister. It's like the perfect size. Now, I don't spray a lot. I just spray a little, just enough to moisten it a little bit. Then I put down my cutting plate and then the embossing mat. I place the cardstock down on the embossing mat, and then I put the die on top of the cardstock, and then I put another cutting plate on top, and then I run it through my die cut machine. And look at how nice that came out. And you can use any die you have to turn it into an embossing folder. Now I'm going to do some quick Copic coloring. I'm just basically going to show you what colors I used and where I put them, just because I really didn't do anything special for my coloring. I wanted the inner part of the poinsettia to be darker and then have it get lighter towards the end of the petal. I started with R59 Cardinal for the center of the poinsettia, and then I brought in R46 Strong Red that I blended with the R59. And then to finish off the petal of the poinsettia, I brought in some R37 Carmine, and I brought this color all the way to the top of the petal. And then I went ahead and I did the same thing for the other poinsettia, so I'm not going to show that. I used Y17 Golden Yellow for the center of both of the poinsettias. And then for the leaves, I started out with G24 Willow, which is the name of my dog, by the way. This is the darkest color, and I wanted it to be darker, closer towards the poinsettia, and then have the leaves get lighter. And then I brought in some YG13 Chartreuse, and I blended it with the G24. And then to finish off the leaves, I brought in some YG03 Yellow Green, and I just blended it all together. I did this for all the leaves, and I also colored the berries with the R59 and the R46. I'm using the Merry Christmas sentiment from the Vintage Poinsettia, and I went ahead and stamped it with Versamark ink, and I poured gold embossing powder on it, and then I used my heat tool to emboss it. Now I'm going to assemble the card. I stacked all 3 of the frames on top of each other. This will give the look of a 3-dimensional frame on the card. And then I trimmed the embossed background down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and then I adhered it to the back of the frames. I took a piece of red cardstock that I cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and I adhered that to the frames. Then I took the entire card front and I adhered it to an A2 size card base. And then I went ahead and I laid out my flowers where I wanted them to go on the front of the card. And I put foam tape on the back of the poinsettias and I adhered them in place. And I put glue on the back of the other leaves and I adhered them behind the poinsettias. I put foam tape on the back of the sentiment and adhered that in the middle of the card. And to finish off the card, I'm using the gold flatback beads from This Calls for Confetti. I put a few of them on the card for accent, and then I adhere them in place with my jewel picker and my glue. I love how this card came out, and I will definitely be making more of them to send out for my Christmas cards this year. I would love for you to leave a comment below and let me know what you think of the card. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any new content coming out. As always, thank you for stopping by and spending your time with me. Have yourself a wonderful day.